This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined by legendary boxing promoter Mr. Bob Arum. We're here down at Top Rank HQ in Las Vegas. How are you, Bob?
Really good, really good. Getting excited for Saturday's big fight with Tyson Fury and Schwartz.
Let's just start from there. There's plenty I'd like to talk to you about, but let's start with the big men. Tyson Fury makes his Las Vegas debut. I was very surprised to hear that he's never even been to Las Vegas. How big of a deal is it to have a British heavyweight topping the bill in Las Vegas?
Well, you know, Tyson Fury is the kind of athlete that really doesn't have borders. I mean, he's so engaging, and his backstory is so interesting that it doesn't matter where he comes from. People here in Las Vegas, in the United States, don't look at him as a British heavyweight. They look at him as a heavyweight who has a very, very unique and interesting backstory.
Tell me about the origins of you working with Tyson. Is it something that you'd wanted to do for a while? Is it something that came off the back of the Deontay Wilder fight? What was it that made that happen?
Well, really what made that happen is we were negotiating a deal with MTK, the management company, about doing fights on ESPN Plus in the United States that took place abroad, particularly in the UK and Ireland and Europe. And in the course of that, we were told, hey, we have this real close relationship with Tyson Fury. Maybe it would be a good idea for you to get involved with him, to give him the kind of PR platform and publicity platform that he needed in the United States. And so we made the deal with him because of that. And we talked to Frank Warren at Queensberry, and Frank will handle the business for Tyson Fury in the UK. But as you can see, Fury on this fight is becoming larger than life in the United States. ESPN has done massive, and will continue to do massive publicity about him. So that's all great for him.
You've worked with some of the biggest names in boxing history over a period of time long before since I was born. Manny Pacquiao, Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard. Where would you put Tyson's kind of ceiling, or his potential ceiling, when comparing to those other guys who were such huge crossover stars?
I look particularly at the heavyweights. I was fortunate enough to promote 25 fights from Muhammad Ali and all of George's fights on his comeback when he led up to the knockout of Michael Moorer. And that was a great, great experience for me. And not only because of their ability, but because how they were able to talk directly to the public. The public loved Ali, and the public ended up loving George in his comeback role. And that made it easy for me. Both were very intelligent guys and can communicate with the public. Now in Tyson Fury, I get another throwback. Tyson Fury reminds me of both of those guys with his ability to communicate. And that is extraordinarily important. You know, sometimes with fighters, I have to be with them and talk to them and script them so they say the right things and they promote themselves correctly. With Tyson Fury, instinctively he knows how to do it. So that, for me, is a great, great joy. In other words, I set up the interviews, I give him the opportunity to meet these people, and then he's all on his own. There's no way I can rein in a Tyson Fury, nor would I want to.
You mentioned him being a throwback. I think that's very interesting. How would you compare him? I mean, heavyweight boxing has changed so much. Now it's the land of the giants with Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, even the Klitschko's when they were active. How would you see somebody like Tyson competing with, say, the heavyweights of the 70s or the 90s when George had made his comeback?
Well, it's hard for me to say. But, you know, I look at Tyson Fury, and I see his footwork and boxing ability, and it reminds me of the Ali prior to the 3.5 years where he was not able to fight because of the draft situation. So I think that really Fury could compete in any era with any heavyweight and be very successful. Now, that's not saying that he necessarily could beat Ali or necessarily could beat Foreman, but I would give him a good shot with either guy at the peak of their careers.
You've, as we've mentioned, been around the block. How important is it, I mean, considering what we've just seen in New York, that Tyson Fury isn't distracted by potential fights or fights that have been signed with Deontay Wilder as he heads into a fight with a pretty sizable underdog in Tom Schwartz this weekend?
Well, Tom Schwartz is an underdog because Tom Schwartz, has only fought in Europe and particularly in Germany. Now, we've seen footage of Tom Schwartz, and he was not number 2 in the BO and number 5 in the IBF by accident. It's because they look at him as a really good competitive fighter. If you had compared prior to the Joshua fight, Andy Ruiz and Tom Schwartz, you'd have to bet on Tom Schwartz.
Now, you worked with Andy Ruiz. We'll come back to Tyson, but it seems like a natural way to talk about that fight now, Ruiz and Joshua. You worked with Andy Ruiz for a number of years. Were you surprised at him being able to upset Anthony Joshua in the manner that he did?
It wasn't Anthony Joshua. There was an imposter in the ring in Madison Square Garden on June 1st. I've seen Anthony Joshua fight in person with Parker and on television with Klitschko and other fighters. And I'm telling you, the Anthony Joshua who showed up in Madison Square Garden on June 1st was not the real Anthony Joshua. I don't know why. I don't know how. I mean, I'm not part of that camp, but I'm telling you, it wasn't Anthony Joshua.
He's been very vocal in the fact that he's come out, both him and Eddie Hearn have come out and said that there was no knockout in sparring, there was no excuses, and simply the better man won on the night. As I said, you were quite long in the tooth. Do you believe that?
What difference does it make what I believe? Do I know facts that would contradict that? No. So what I believe is irrelevant.
Fair enough. Talk to me about the Deontay Wilder fight. So I spoke to Shelley Finkel last week. He told me that Tyson will have a fight in September, and then after that we'll fight Deontay Wilder in 2 fights. Tell me about the deal and how that deal came to pass.
No, I can't, because we negotiated the deal with the Wilder people. I haven't filled in Fury on the details yet because I don't want to distract him from June 15th, but I will, and then we'll make a proper announcement.
Sure, I wasn't asking for kind of the inner workings of the deal. I probably should have explained myself a bit better. I've just come off the plane. Before you signed Tyson, initially it was going to be the Wilder rematch that everybody sort of seemed was going to be nailed on. It's now pushed to next year. Why? What was the thinking behind that?
Because after the first fight with Wilder, people in America hadn't yet known Tyson Fury. That the people with Tyson Fury realized that we could give him a platform where people in the United States would know him, so that when he fought Wilder, there would be a tremendous amount of interest, and we do big pay-per-view numbers. Simple as that. Wilder is now just coming out in the United States. We have a very, very big country with a lot of people who are interested in basketball, or professional football, other sports, baseball. So we have to get their attention, and we're getting their attention. And that's the purpose of doing these 2 fights with Tyson Fury prior to a Wilder fight.
You mentioned that having the other sports to compete with, you've now seen a new change in boxing with the streaming services, which with ESPN Plus and obviously on ESPN, DAZN, etc. How beneficial is that for boxing? How will it allow them to compete with the other mainstream sports in America?
I don't know about competing with the other mainstream sports in America, but there has been a problem in boxing that there hasn't been enough coverage. There hasn't been enough fights that the public could see. Now with ESPN Plus, DAZN, Fox, ESPN, plenty of fights that people can watch, and the more people can see boxing, the more they will become part of our fan base. So it's great for boxing. Everybody is doing a very good job. In a one way, we're competitors, but in another way, we're aligned in the same business. So, I salute a guy like Eddie Hearns, who works hard and puts on fights in England, the United States. PBC, that puts on a lot of fights. We put on 30 events at least a year for ESPN. 25 additional events outside the country. This is great for boxing. I think we're at the beginning of a golden age for the sport.
Just a couple of quick questions. I know that you've got to shoot. What update can you give me? I know you were somewhat involved in the deal, as it were, for Anthony Yarde and Sergey Kovalev. That's all gone very quiet there. Is that fight dead? Can we expect an announcement on that fight anytime soon?
Well, I don't know. Paco Valcárcel, the president of WBO, has asked me to bring everybody together this week in Las Vegas to work out a solution, and that's what I'm determined to do. And we'll just have to wait and see how successful it is. So I'm the mediator in the dispute, in whatever's been going on. And Paco, everybody's my friend that's involved, and hopefully we can get something done this week.
Is it unrealistic to expect that for June 29, as it originally discussed?
I don't know dates. Again, I'm the mediator. Everything is open, and I'll discuss it with the parties.
And just finally, before I shoot, Vasyl Lomachenko and Luke Campbell, are we getting close to an announcement on that fight? A heavily rumoured date, August the 31st?
Well, August 31st at 02, I think that's what Eddie has reserved. I think he has to complete the deal with Campbell, and then he'll complete the deal with us, and we should be able to have an announcement shortly. But again, Eddie, I think, flew back to the UK today, and he's going to be meeting with the Campbell people, and then we'll get in touch with us.
How excited are you to introduce Lomachenko to British fight fans? I know he's very excited to box there, having won a gold medal in London. How excited are you to market him in the UK?
Well, part of my job is to build up my fighters to be great international stars, and Lomo's had every one of his fights either in the United States or in Macau at the beginning. So to bring him to the UK is terrific, because he told me he was there for the Usyk fight, and the public went crazy for him. So we look for a massive turnout for Loma. For me, technically, he's one of the greatest fighters I've ever seen.
Okay, well, Bob Arum, thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. That's great. Thank you, sir.